Good morning, students. I hope you all are fit and fine at your home and ready to learn. In the series of learning about town traders and craft person, today we are going to learn about how the small towns have turned into a small network and what were the pattern of collection of taxes and how the craft and the traders were encouraged to do their work in that places. Let us understand and continue the chapter. A network of small towns. From the 8th century onwards, the subcontinent was dotted with several small towns. These probably emerged from large villages. They usually had a mandapika, a mandi or later times to which nearby villages brought their produce to sell. They also had market streets called hat or hatta for later times, lined with shops. Besides, there were streets for different kinds of artisans such as potters, oil pressers, sugar makers, toddy makers, smiths, stone masons, etc. While some traders lived in the towns, others traveled from town to town. Many came from far and near to these towns to buy local articles and sell products of distant places like horses, salt, camphor, saffron, betel nut, and spices like pepper. Now, this paragraph makes you understand about a small market. That means where the people are setting up to sell their products. It was known as mandi, a big market whereby they used to bring their producers and to sell it in the mandi. And hat is a small market whereby nearby villagers used to come and sell their produce. You can see here with the images that how they are sitting in line in the corners of the street, and then people are there to buy their products. Sometimes to these mandis and to these hat, people used to come from the distant places also. Usually a samanta or in later times a zamindar built a fortified palace in or near these towns. They levied taxes on traders, artisans and articles of trade, and something donated the right to collect these taxes to local temples, which had been built by themselves or by rich merchants. These rights were recorded in inscriptions that have survived to this date. Now, this is exactly what about the people who used to collect the taxes from these market areas. आप shops लगा रहे हैं तो shop लगाने के लिए आपको taxes देने पड़ेंगे. तो ये taxes कौन collect करता था? समंता या जमींदार. ये दोनों word हम पहले समझ चुके हैं कि कौन समंता होता है और कौन जमींदार होता है. And as these places were nearby, so they used to build their palaces also because they have to live in that area. नियर बाय होना बहुत ज़रूरी है, तो वो इसी एरिया में एक बड़े बड़े अपने महल बनाकर वहीं रहते थे. कई बार टैक्सेस कलेक्ट करने का राइट्स जो होता था, वो जो मंदिर रहते थे बड़े बड़े, उन मंदिर के जो अथॉरिटीज़ हैं उनके पास होता था, सो दैट दे कैन कलेक्ट द टैक्सेस एंड पास इट आउट टू द रूलर. Now, taxes on markets, there is a small tax given over here. The following is a summary from the 10th century inscription from Rajasthan. This is what in the previous paragraph we have learned, that it has been recorded in the inscriptions and in the manuscripts. So we have proof that yes, these kinds of taxes were collected by the people. There were taxes in kind on, now this is very important to understand, kind. That means they used to pay taxes in kind, not in cash. Sugar and jaggery, dyes, thread and cotton. On coconut, salt, erica nuts, butter, sesame oil, on cloth. Now these are the various items on which the taxes were collected. Besides, there were taxes on traders, on those who sold metal goods, on distillers, on oil, on cattle fodder and on loads of grain. So that means almost on every product they used to collect the taxes. Some of these taxes were collected in kind while some others were collected in cash. Now cash was not a currency of today's time. The cash was of gold and silver or copper coins, which was introduced by the rulers. Traders big and small. There were many kinds of traders. These included the Banjaras. Several traders, especially horse traders, formed associations with headmen who negotiated on their behalf with warriors who bought horses. Since traders had to pass through many kingdoms and forests, they usually traveled in caravans and formed guilds to protect their interest. There were several such guilds in South India from the 8th century onwards, the most famous being the Mani Gramam and Nana Desi. These guilds traded extensively both within the peninsula and within Southeast Asia and China. There were also communities like Chettiars and Marwari Oswals who went on to become the principal trading groups of the company. Gujarati traders, including the communities of Hindu Baniyas and Muslim Bohras, traded extensively with the ports of the Red Sea, Persian Gulf, East Africa, Southeast Asia, and China. Students, please underline this line. They sold textiles and spices in these ports and in exchange brought gold and ivory from Africa and spices, tin, Chinese blue pottery, and silver from Southeast Asia and China. The towns in the west coast were home to Arab, Persian, Chinese, Jewish, and Syrian Christian traders. The Indian spices and cloth sold in Red Sea ports were purchased by Indian traders and eventually reached European markets, fetching very high profits. Spices grown in tropical climate, pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, dried ginger, etc., became an important part of European cooking, and cotton cloth was very attractive. This eventually drew European traders to India. We will shortly read about how this changed the face of trading in town. Now, this paragraph lets you know that how the people from the distant places were interested in buying the products which was produced in India, and how the people of India travel to distant places to sell their market. As I told you that North India is connected with the land with the other neighboring countries, so from the North India it was very easy to travel towards the north. But you have read about that South country was also trading with the China and with the Arab and Southeast Asian countries. So their peppers and spices were sold over there, which was in a great demand. जो कॉटन हमारे इंडिया में प्रोड्यूस होता था, दैट वाज आल्सो इन अ ग्रेट डिमांड इन द यूरोपियन मार्केट, एंड दैट्स हाउ द ब्रिटिश हैज़ गॉट अट्रैक्टेड टुवर्ड्स इंडिया and have ruled 200 years after the Mughals. That we will be reading very soon in the next class. Students, that's all for today. We will be continuing the remaining lesson in the next video. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.